You all. Amen. Today's message will be focused on the story from our gospel reading. You just heard two readings from the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament reading. Both are telling us about hospitality. Hospitality is one of the time-honored traditions in the ancient Middle East. Abraham saw three strangers coming, so he got up. He extended an invitation. He asked them to sit. He brought them water, and then he made preparation. Not only Abraham himself, but his wife Sarah and his servant. Finally, once the meal was prepared, he served his guests, and he listened to his guests speak to him. Sarah, his wife, was also listening. You see, she did her service, but she was in the tent listening to the conversation between Abraham and the Lord. So, the courtesy of welcoming guests and having an honored guest in the house, you not only provide the meal, the food that is necessary, but you also listen to what they say. Now, when we come to our gospel lesson, can you increase the mic, please? Okay. Can you hear now? A little bit? Can you hear me? My voice is okay. In the Gospel of Luke, he tells us that there was a woman named Martha who welcomed Jesus. Jesus was passing through a village on his way to Jerusalem. So Martha welcomed him. She opened her house to him. She extended an invitation, hospitality. Martha was focused on serving the Lord, making sure that the food was ready, everything is the way it's supposed to be. She had a younger sister called Mary. Mary, once the Lord entered the house, made a choice. She chose to sit at the feet of Jesus. The position she took was that of a disciple. It was unheard in the old time. The rabbis never allowed a woman to sit and study at the feet of the master. So what she did was countercultural. What the Lord allowed her to do was also countercultural. It was not expected. That's something new. He didn't make any choice. The fact that she was a woman did not prevent him from welcoming her. Jesus welcomes everybody. So he let her sit and he served her. How did Jesus serve us? He serves us through his word, bringing us the benefits that he earned for us on the cross of Calvary. Forgiveness of sins, life abundant, salvation. That's what he shares. That's what Jesus tells those that were listening to him. How much God the Father loves them. So Martha and her younger sister Mary, two different people from the same family, but with different personalities, different giftings. Martha's gift was to serve. She was task-oriented. She gets things done. While Mary listened to the Lord. Both of them were doing good deeds. There is nothing wrong with serving. There is nothing wrong also with listening to the Lord. But we need both. Where Martha finds herself in trouble is when she became anxious. We can't blame Martha for being anxious because the honored guest is none other than God Almighty in the person of Jesus Christ, who came to her house. So she wanted to make the best impression, present the best food. There's nothing wrong with that. But out of her anxiousness, out of her anxiety, she starts to get wrong thinking. She expected her sister, little sister, to help. But her little sister Mary chose to sit at the feet of Jesus and wouldn't budge. Martha may have looked at her and trying to tell her, come on to the kitchen and help. But Mary wouldn't move. Finally, Martha was exasperated. She said, well, she decides to tell the Lord, Lord, don't you even care that my sister is not helping me? I'm doing this, trying to serve you all by myself. What's wrong here? What do you see that is out of order? As the oldest sister, she could have gone directly to Mary and say, hey, Mary, get up. I need help in the kitchen. She didn't do that. She goes directly to the honored guest and say, Lord, don't you care? I'm working here by myself. You see, she turned the focus entirely on herself. But what Mary was doing was, she made a choice to sit at the Lord's feet, to hear the word of life that was coming from his lips. And then, when Mary, out of her anxiety, wanted to pull her into her situation, she said, no, I'm staying put. I'm staying at the Lord's feet. That's a choice. This kind of choice, choosing the best, choosing Jesus, choosing his word, does not come easily to anyone. It is a choice that has to be made each day. We live in a world that is very fast-paced. Many things compete for our hearts and minds. There is the demand of time. We set priorities, but we end up messing our own priorities. Our priorities get out of whack. What happens when we become anxious? We lose sight of the main goal. The urgent tasks, little, big, they crowd out what is necessary from our life. That's what happened with Martha. She was so consumed with the serving, she forgot that Jesus was in the house. After all, Jesus fed 5,000 without any fanfare. But Martha here is stressing herself out and trying to pull her sister into that stress. So she asked the Lord a question. Lord, don't you care? I am working here by myself. I need help. Tell Mary to get up. But the Lord doesn't do that. Instead, the Lord responds to Martha and to all of us also through this story. He says, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and worried about many things, but only one thing is necessary, and Mary has chosen that better part, that which is best. She has chosen Jesus and his word. That's the lesson we get from here. Because focusing, giving priority to Jesus and his word in our life is the best choice that we can make as followers of Christ. Mary's heart was surrendered to the Lord. She had submitted and she placed herself under the Lord's feet. While Mary's heart was troubled, That troubled heart led her to ask the Lord to intervene. But he tells her, you see, the Lord doesn't condemn her. See, there is no condemnation. But he's teaching her what really matters in life. He's redirecting her priorities. He's redirecting her focus. Say, don't be overwhelmed with what you're doing. The main part, the good part, the best part is choosing me and choosing my word. That's what Jesus is saying. Ultimately, that's what matters in life for all of us. As I said earlier, we get too busy, our lives get crowded. Guess what happens? Our time with the Lord gets squeezed out. It gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and before long, we become casual acquaintances with the Lord. We don't spend that time. Like Mary, when you're submitted, when you're devoted, when you surrender your heart, it doesn't become a chore to serve the Lord. It becomes a delight. Coming to church is not a duty. You have to. But I love to be at church because the Lord is serving me with his word, with the salutary gift of his body and blood. He forgives my sins. You're delighted to be here. You're not forced. You don't come here out of fear, but love. That's what Jesus is teaching us. He wants each and every one of you to rest in his love. He wants to serve you. You are priority number one for Jesus. And he wants to be priority number one in your life. This is the lesson that we take from the story of hospitality. That's what Jesus is saying. Only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen the best part, the better part, and that will not be taken away from her. So choose wisely, choose the best, choose Jesus. Amen.